Hello, 22 Tony here with another discussion on collecting vintage and antique ammo. Today I want to get back a little bit more to my basics, and that's collecting the 22 boxes. I specifically want to talk today about collecting a specific retail box. Now, in previous videos I did talk a little bit about collecting the boxes from Sears and Roebuck. We talked about the Stay Clean and the J.C. Higgins and Ted Williams and the Sears branded boxes. In another video we talked about collecting the boxes from Western Auto and their Revelation brand. Today I want to talk about a retailer that some of the younger viewers may have never even heard of, and that's Montgomery Ward's. Montgomery Ward's began in 1872 as a mail order company. They allowed rural shoppers access to the goods that were normally only available in larger cities. This was interesting that this was actually 14 years before Sears got into the retail business. Now, it wasn't until 1926 that Montgomery Ward's opened up their first retail store. Another little bit of an interesting fact about Montgomery Ward's was that in the Christmas of 1939, as part of an advertising campaign, they actually created Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So those of us that grew up loving Rudolph, it was all because of an advertising campaign for Montgomery Ward's. But the Montgomery Ward's catalog sold guns and ammos from a variety of manufacturers, all the major manufacturers in America. But it wasn't until the either late 1920s or early 1930s, the stories vary a little bit depending on who you believe, but somewhere in that time frame they introduced their own private label ammo. The original boxes were either green or red, and they had an M over a W inside of a bullseye. I don't have any of those boxes, and probably most of us will never see them. They were only available for about a year or so. The company went through multiple box changes within just a very short period of time. In the early 1930s, they started out with the green and the red M over W boxes. They shortly changed to a Stay Clean box. It was a red and black print on a white background, and it was just spelled a little bit different than the Sears Stay Clean. It was S-T-A-C-L-E-A-N, but those didn't last very long. They very rapidly went to a box. It was a similar looking box. It was a red and black print on a white background that said Clean Fire, and then they went to a box with the Ward's name and Montgomery Ward's. Now, this is a fake. You can probably see I taped it over another box, but this is similar to what it looks like, the original mid-1930s Ward's box. Now, this box continued for probably into about the early to mid-1950s. In the 1950s, Ward's introduced their Hawthorne line. Now, this is a little bit later box. This particular box is a probably about 1963 to 1965 range that this box was produced. But the Hawthorne name was what they used from the early mid-1950s up until about the early 1970s. In the early 1970s, they made another change, and that was to put the Montgomery Ward's name back on the box. Okay. Now, also in early 1970s and 1972, they introduced a plastic box, and they only had one design for that because they quit even offering ammo by 1983. Now, most of you that are familiar with Montgomery Ward's know that the catalog and retail business has been long gone. It officially ended in 2001, I believe. Depending on what part of the country you're in, you may not have seen a Montgomery Ward's for 30 or 40 years. The company does actually still run a retail. It's kind of a different division now, but they are still running some internet retail business, but it's not the glory days when they were at one point actually the largest retailer in America. And I did want to mention a little bit about the ammo itself. So I've talked about the boxes and given you a few different designs here, and hopefully giving you something to think about on the boxes and to do a little bit more research. There were, within those first few years, 5 to 10 years, they had probably 20 different box designs, different variations of the same boxes, and then about 5 different names within just a very short period of time. So it's a huge quantity, but the fact is you're probably not going to see any of them, because the fact that they did make such a huge quantity of styles, they had very few boxes of each, and how many of those exist today, they're very limited. But the ammo itself is much like the other retailers. Montgomery Wards didn't manufacture ammo, they purchased it and had it packaged for them in their private label. Their packaging, or their ammo, was actually produced by the Federal Cartridge Corporation, just like many of the other retailers. So the ammo itself follows the history of Federal. If you do a little bit of research on Federal, you'll see what type of ammo was available and when they switched to different types of lubricants and the different variations of ammo that was available. I didn't want to go into a lot of detail on that. I didn't want this to become a very long video, and it could be. On Montgomery Wards, you could probably spend an hour talking about the different variations and what was available. But this video, as all of my videos, is really designed to give you something to think about. If you want to start collecting the boxes of the retailers, I think it's a great place to start collecting. But there's a lot of variation out there and a lot of information available on the internet. So do a little bit of research, learn it for yourself, and enjoy. As always, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy my videos, and please feel free to share. Have a good day.